I'd like to credit the story to our fantastically talented writers, Natasha Darius, my wife, and Nicholas Magri. It's a historical crime drama. One of the more interesting aspects of it was asking them to write something that involved a historical character, but a line which references a very modern person in the form of Mark Wahlberg. So that was very interesting. Little fact: they actually managed to work in an actual, real turn-of-the-century French signet ring as a prop.
Yeah, we do have to give credit to our writers, of course, not only for their creativity, but also for the fact that they really delved into the historical truth of what Mata Hari was as a character, as a person, as a historical figure, as a spy who was ultimately executed for, what she was caught doing. And so we tried to incorporate the historical aspects of that into the film, and so that was really, really fun for the writers to do.
And everything that's said in the film historically about her, with the exception of a few flourishes to connect to the story, they're all true. So that's kind of an interesting little thing.
Our writers are very diligent and thorough, so we credit them for that. Well, Natasha, we mentioned Natasha. She is one of our main and core crew members, as a female crew member for Shoot the Moon Films, and she primarily acts as a writer for us. She's also done some assistant directing. She's also done some acting. She's also done some production assistant work. So Natasha is a female, not only Jeff's wife, the director's wife, but she's a person on set who we really go to and need just for support and for extra advice, and just a person who is good at what she does, and so we utilize her as, whether a female or not, as a person who's an expert in her field. And as a writer, she's provided so much value for us, and she's only one of the women on our sets who contributes more than we ever imagined as a female or person in general would on our sets. And so we have Deborah Lee Siegel, who was our actress in The Gift of Fate tonight. She played Mata Hari, the historical figure. And Deb is not only a gaffer, but she's an actress, and she's also helped out on our sets just in numerous ways. And then we have Brandy Demers, who has been a first AD for us, a second AD for us, a production assistant for us, and she's just a hustler and bustler on every set that we have. And these three women that I mentioned are key members of any set and any kind of production that we do, not only because of their skills, but because we love to have them around. So women are a huge part of our sets, and it's a huge balance between men and women on our sets. If not, half the time the women are barking orders at us. So it's whether or not we abide by them. But the women on our sets are huge assets to us. So
I would go with emotional impact. The story does tug on some heartstrings and is a nice, nuanced crime drama without being too gory, without being too violent. It really does hold itself together very well.
And I must say, as the producer of the film and as a viewer of the film, I'm not a cinematographer or director. I did act in it, but I would say that people who watch the film will really appreciate the cinematography and the scoring and the mood that we've sort of introduced into this short film that's only 10 minutes long. It really does have a mood and an atmosphere that I've never really felt in any other film that we've done as Shoot the Moon Films, a production company. So I appreciate the tone, the mood, the environment, the atmosphere, just everything that the scorers and the editor and the cinematographer really put in for a creative visual experience for the viewer, and I think they're going to really appreciate that. There's a lot of unique clips and shots that I think aren't really involved in a lot of other films we've done, so it's cool.
And I'd also like to mention the sound and post-production department was really good. Specifically, the guy who does scoring for us, a terrifically talented guy named Garrett Schmidt, who has scored a few other films for us. He's fantastic, and the amount of emotion that his scores add are just out of this world.
It's incredible. So Garrett Schmidt is someone who we've worked with multiple times, and we've brought back for all the projects we've done, especially competition projects, because he works very well under pressure. He takes direction extremely well, and he provides a final product that everybody's happy with.
Very, very subtle, but also very moving. He's done several different genres, from horror to crime drama and everything in between.
And a shout out to Ben Sabelli as well, who was our audio post sound engineer. He did a lot of some ADR work just that needed to be done with windy scenes that made some of the audio inaudible, but he really did save and salvage some of the audio that we had that we couldn't work with, and so we really want to give a shout out to Ben Sibeli as well.
It's very important. It's very important that you've got a great post-production team, and I really like our post-production team.
Awards that we've won, well, recently we just did another competition. We did a 48-hour for Providence. It was specifically a horror 48, and we won Best Film, we won Best Score, we won Best Audio Design, and Best Writing, and then Best Actor as well. So we had a lot of awards with that one, and that's why we love doing competition pieces, just because it provides our team an opportunity to just really hone in on their skills and figure out what kinks we have in the process. But for the most part, we keep the same team, we expand our actors, and we just want to keep doing better. So
at the end of all of these, I usually put together a post-mortem analysis to look at where the failings, where the successes were, and to try to pinpoint weak spots in our workflow, in the way that we put things together. And whether or not we do well in a competition, these things are exceptionally good for us learning how to work better as filmmakers and work better as a team.
Oh yeah. Well, I've been asked this question before, and as a somewhat new filmmaker myself, I always never really knew what to say, but I would just say that you have to find a team of people who you work well with. You have to find, a partner in crime who is sort of a right-hand man, or who is a complementary sort of person to your skill set, because I'm really good with organization and kind of like the logistical aspect of putting a production together, and Jeff is extremely technical, and he does the camera work and behind the scenes stuff, so together we work really, really well together. So I would recommend that filmmakers who want to go into filmmaking just know what they want to do, have realistic expectations, and also put a team together that's going to do what they say they're going to do, and in the end, knowing that whatever you put together is the best you could have done at that point with what you know. And you can milk something forever and ever and ever and try to make it perfect, but that is sort of just being too controlling over it. You got to say goodbye and kind of just let it go at some point and put it out there so people can appreciate it. So that's my advice for them.
Okay, I've got a couple. One is the old adage: the enemy of the good is the perfect. The idea that if you try to push for something to be absolutely perfect, you won't be able to have something good. In addition to that, I usually, anybody who's been on set with me has heard me say this before, is one more for safety. Yeah. Always one more for safety.
Right.
Even if you think you've got enough, you never have enough. You can never quite have enough.
Very true.
But a lot of this hinges on the idea that we're always trying to assess ourselves, work better together as a team, and I think a lot of this comes down to there's no one person, there's no one star, there's no one person in the post-production team or production team or anywhere who makes or breaks the crew. Everybody is equally important. It only takes one person to break a film.
Right.
If you have one person who's doing something that's completely wrong or counterproductive, it's going to break everything. So your team has to work well together, and you need a Curtis. Everybody needs a Curtis. The organizational thing, you can't say enough about it. It's very important.
He's very generous, and I say the same thing about Jeff. You need a Jeff. So together we've been very lucky. We've been working on films together for 3 years now almost, and so we've done like almost 15 different productions together, and so I'm really happy to have Jeff. But the other last bit of advice is just do it, because you got to do it.
The worst film is the one that's never made.
Exactly.